cluster of pom-pom ornamental allium heads floating above a sea of fresh new perennial foliage can be a spectacular sight in any garden. Indeed, it has been said that allium flowers resemble firework displays frozen in mid-explosion. Certainly, their distinctive architecture and wonderful colours, ranging from sensational purples and lilacs through rose pinks and cobalt-blues to the very purest white, have made them much-loved favourites amongst gardeners. Mercifully, and in contrast to many other exotic and spectacular flowers, there are several allium species that will perform well in a cool northern climate such as we enjoy in western Norway. They're also great for small gardens, as their slim vertical shape means that most take up very little ground space. Furthermore, they can add important architectural statements and bold colour to otherwise deliberately blousy cottage garden planting schemes. Many will make great cut flowers or are suitable for drying, and their nectar-rich flowers will attract bees and other insects too. Such are their uses and diversity that it's possible to enjoy alliums here from May until September. This display kicks off in late May with Purple Sensation. It is the first of the alliums to flower, and it has the best colour of them all. By early June, the dense round heads in glorious deep violet purple stand proud on their strong stems that reach up to 90 centimetres high, their tactile flowers inviting the gardener's touch. The flowers of Allium afflutinense are not as substantial in size or as globular in shape, but their light purple flowers look wonderful set against the stunning darker purple Sensation. Both alliums will also tolerate really quite deep shade and perform well together here in the North Garden. These early summer highlights work brilliantly planted in borders amongst later flowering perennials such as ground cover geraniums, or indeed under structures that will later be covered by climbers. I also let alliums weave through the soft pastels of aquilegias and contrast them with cottage garden classics like lupins. Elsewhere, I use them as a warm-up act among old-fashioned roses. It's a happy coincidence that those growing in the North Garden peak at just the same time as our laburnum tree, making for a spectacular contrast. Allium giganteum and gladiator are, as their names suggest, even more substantial. Although they flower slightly later, both will reach well over a metre in height, and the spherical lilac flower heads of giganteum can be as large as 15 centimetres. Like most alliums, I think they're best used en masse in groups of at least 10 bulbs planted in prominent, eye-catching positions. At about the same time, Allium aureophyllum, a sweetly scented, low-flowering allium, displays its delicate pink flowers. Again, in typical firework style, managing to splay them out in between other front-of-border plants. It grows to only 20 centimetres or so and flowers in early July, just poking through the emerging dwarf astilbes that will flower later. In the East Garden, I've experimented planting the low-growing Allium graceful amongst Phlox subulata close to the edge of a dry stone wall, a profusion of closely packed, precious pale pink flowers forming pretty round blossoms on 30 centimetre stems spill through the phlox and over the wall. By late June, the early alliums take a back seat in the borders, the colour of their flowers fading to a silvery lilac, before producing stunning sculptural seed heads that cast formidable shadows in the strong summer sunshine. The splendid skeletal seed heads are left on to show off their stunning striking architecture until just before they set seed in September. Then they are deadheaded in order to avoid them spawning thousands of swarming seedlings the following spring. By midsummer, the closely related Mediterranean bells of the Allium bulgaricum are peeling, their candelabra-like flowers emulating the most spectacular of pyrotechnic displays. Each green and burgundy bell hangs downwards until pollinated, and then curls upward. Also known as the Sicilian honey lily, or by its botanical name of Nectar or Scordum sicilium, it is reportedly more shade tolerant than its relatives, and it too makes an excellent cut flower. In mid-July, the more understated but nonetheless beautiful Allium ceruleum, with balls of bright blue flowers, makes far less of an architectural impression than its cousins, but it can be just as spectacular. It's not supposed to be hardy here, but has survived well in the sunnier west garden borders, protected by a good layer of winter mulch. The long linear leaves die back before the cobalt-blue blooms appear on 60cm stems, where they sparkle amongst foxgloves and summer annuals such as cosmos. The last, but by no means least of the alliums to flower in late July, is my namesake, Allium Christophii, the star of Persia. It prefers a sunny spot and grows to only 60cm, a little shorter than the earlies, but its spectacular large umbels of metallic pink star-shaped flowers, which can measure 20 to 25 centimeters in diameter, more than compensate for its lack of height. Its flowers too are followed by stunning seed heads. No surprise that this allium won the Royal Horticultural Society's Award of Garden Merit. So, in order to grow alliums, you need a sunny or half-shady position and good drainage. Given both, they will reappear year after year. Bulbs can be planted in the autumn to twice the depth of the bulb, although I've planted as late as December and under snow. Plant them amongst perennials such as ground-cover geraniums that appear later, in order that the yellowing foliage of the alliums is covered by the time they flower. Finally, remember to deadhead before the seeds disperse if you want to avoid the seedlings.